Well, today's the day. Y'all, I promised last time I did a video when I made the beef bone broth that we would do a video about how to convert that beef bone broth into a gut-friendly soup. Well, today's the day. So, before I get started, let's go over all the ingredients you'll need and then we'll break it down as we go through the video. First off, you're going to need 3 fresh ingredients. You're going to need baby carrots or just regular carrots, just carrots. You need carrots. You need about a pound of carrots. You need a pretty good sized onion and a pretty good sized butternut squash. If you don't want to use butternut squash, you can substitute for acorn squash. The last ingredients we're going to need are salt and pepper there on the left, basil, parsley, and our green split peas. Green split peas actually add just so much protein to the dish. Basil and parsley are really good for your immune system. And just a note on the salt, I use real salt. It's a kind of a more natural salt. And what I like best about it is the flavor. It's just really, really good. And I love the extra little bit of mineral content. So about that many carrots. Altogether, I'd say that's about a pound, pound and a half. Now a note on the carrots. The smaller you get the carrots, the more they'll break down, and that is exactly what we want. We need the carrots to really break down until they're like mush all together. Same for the onions, so the smaller you make your veggies, the better. My hands are shaking so bad today. I don't know what's going on, so we're going to try not to lose a finger in this.
You beating on the table, woman. Chop the shit. Get you the axe.
Maybe.
You ain't supposed to beat your knuckles on the board.
Okay, now this is actually what we're going for. Little squares about this big. You want them skinned. That skin can be just a little bit on the bitter side. They're pretty hard, pretty tough to chop up. Okay, let me show you what we've got. So we've got about half as many carrots as we do butternut squash. And over here, we're going to use that whole onion right in there, and you can see how it's all diced up. I'm going to soak my peas for about an hour before I actually start cooking with them. Remember our broth that we made the other day? If you didn't see that video, you should go back and check it out. How to make boned beef broth and Jaeger schnitzels. But we made boned beef broth in that video. We're going to use 4 of those to make this soup. So here we are, ready for the next step. So to start with, I've got my big pot to boil everything in, and I've got my strainer. As I pour this out, I don't want all of this fat that's in here. See all that fat? I don't want that actually in my soup. So we're going to take a knife and we puncture that, and that is large, so I want to catch that. get it out of there. And keep it separated from everything else. So I pour my broth and my lard in through a strainer. Now we are going to add a little bit of water to this. It's cold, so it's not going through the holes. There we go. So I'm going to get these others done, and we'll look and see what that looks like in the pot. See, once you get 4 in there, it's about half a pot right there for me. This pot's about that deep, so about half that pot, maybe a little less. And we ended up with quite a bit of lard that we can use for cooking purposes later too. So, yay! Good. It's been an hour, and we've got our peas strained back out, and we're ready to move on. So the next thing we're going to want to do is actually bring our broth to a boil. So we're going to turn that on high. And I want to stir in quite a bit of water. So I've got 4 cups of water here. And we're just going to stir that in. And a lot of that will just boil down. Okay, it is now boiling. And we're going to start by adding some salt. Now some pepper. Now we're going to add our peas. Stir that together. Really good. And let that cook until those peas get nice and soft. Okay, so it's been about an hour, and this is perfect. What we really wanted to see was them basically dissolve into the water and just obliterate themselves. So it kind of just is a little bit tinted green now, and you can see what little bit is in there is just gone. That's wonderful. So we're going to go ahead and add the last ingredient here that we haven't mentioned yet, and that is minced garlic. And it's going to be about 2 cloves altogether. Sploosh. That's perfect. And it's time to add the rest of our ingredients. Starting with the squash and the carrots. Alright, stir that in really good. Lid back on, and we're going to basically cook those until they do what the sweet peas do. Okay, so we've boiled it down. We've got it to the point where it is basically a gravy here. You can see it's just really, really thick sauce, but the veggies are like practically mush, which is great. So we're going to add a little bit of water because we're not quite ready for it to be this thick yet. And we're going to go ahead and put in our onions. Okay, so I'm going to put in about 1.5 cups of water. And then here comes our onions. All of those in there. Looks good. And we'll just whisk that together. Now once these onions actually break down, basically we're just going to mash this and then let it cool, and it will be finished. You were probably wondering at which point we put in the parsley and the basil. That would be now. That's the parsley. And a little bit less of the basil. This smells really good. Lid on. Crack just a little bit. Let it go on high medium. You might have noticed that I transferred pots there. That's because I spaced and didn't stir often enough. And that reminds me, I didn't tell y'all either. Be sure to stir this very frequently. As the carrots cook, they do get heavier and settle to the bottom, and they will burn to the bottom. If that happens, transfer to a different pot without scraping the bottom so you don't get the scorch in the soup flavor, and you should be good to go. Okay, once it's cooked down, it'll look kind of like this right here. And you can see that the onions have just glazed out completely. The carrots and the butternut squash is virtually gone. I'm not finding any pieces of it, maybe right there. So we want to let this cool a little bit, and then our very, very last step will actually be to run this through a blender or a pureer of some sort. You can do it by hand as well with just a hand masher, but I want to make sure it's super smooth, so I'm going to use and show y'all my Vitamix. Okay, so you get everything in there and you just zip it up. Let me show you the last batch here. Here we go. All right, lid on. Now you start off on variable, on 1, you turn it on, and then you'll slowly increase it until you get to 10, and then flip it to high. The opposite to turn it off. Alright. Okay, let me show you what that looks like. Here it is. So this is exactly what we want to see, just super smooth and creamy. Now this can be used as a soup base, or it can be drained just as is. But that is perfect. What we're going to do, first off, I'm going to set a cup aside because this looks really good right now. But then we're going to take the rest over to a friend of mine who has a freeze dryer. And we're going to actually pour this out and freeze it. And then I will show you the finished product. I'm probably not going to show you the freeze drying process itself. But it's super simple. Someday I hope to be able to, but maybe not for this. So, there it is. So I just, you can't cook something without trying it. You wouldn't want to poison other people, right? That is really good. All the flavors are just blended really together. It's kind of sweet and savory at the same time. I really like that. So we're going to get freeze dried. I will show you what it looks like freeze dried, and then we'll do a short clip showing you how to reconstitute it after it's freeze dried. And that'll be the end of this video. So almost through it. Before we go on, I wanted to take a minute to go over some of the nutritional facts about the ingredients. Butternut squash is a lot of fiber, but it also has protein and some carbohydrates, potassium and vitamin C. Split peas have a ton of great stuff in them. They're a great source of protein. Chopped carrots have protein as well, but they also have carbohydrates, fiber, and a little bit of sugar. And, of course, we can't forget our onion, which is packed full of vitamin C, chromium, folate, and, of course, fiber. Why did we put garlic in it? Because it contains antioxidants. So what makes it gut-friendly? Well, basically, the stomach has to do a whole bunch of things, but the primary thing that it struggles to do is actually breaking the food down and liquefying it. By going ahead and taking all of those vegetables and getting them pre-liquefied and pre-mushed down, you're saving your stomach a lot of effort. If you have gastroparesis or other stomach problems, every little bit counts. The fiber in this also will help the lower gut, but it's broken down into such a minute particles that the stomach won't have problems actually passing it. The other vitamins and nutrients also have great probiotic properties and help support gut health.
So that was a long process. It actually took about 2 days to freeze dry it, and honestly none too soon, because the day after we started the freeze drying process, I ended up getting sick again. So I've been doing what's called a 3-day reset. Now what the 3-day reset is a diet to kind of give your gut a chance to recover from being sick. So even if you don't have gastroparesis, say you get an upset stomach from a stomach virus, it's a good idea to go ahead and give your gut a chance to do what's called a reset, get everything stabilized, and slowly build back up to solid foods. So it's called a 3-day reset because it takes 3 days to get through it before you actually start eating whole solid foods again. So the first day you just drink broths that can include jello, gelatin, chicken or beef, or the bone broth that we made works as well. You can also have teas or coffee as long as you don't put any cream in it, and keep your sugars down really, really low. So these are just things that are easy for the stomach to pass and digest, and still provide some nutrients and nourishment to your body. On day 2, you switch over to what's called whole liquids or full liquids. So full liquids are just a little bit heavier liquid. So this can include pureed foods and fruits, can include juices like orange juice or apple juice with the pulp in it. It can include milks and dairies at this point can be incorporated into your coffees or things like that. And then the 3rd day, you actually switch over to kind of more heavier pureed food. So that's where I'm at today, is I'm kind of on the end period of the day 3, 24 hours, so to say. And at this point, I need pureed whole foods, and then towards this evening, if I handle those really, really well, I can switch over to eating like casserole or soft foods. So scrambled eggs are kind of on the whole food side. So soft casseroles, things that aren't really, really super heavy in fibers is what you want to look for. Day 4, kind of towards the end of this evening, I'll be hitting day 4. It's really based off of 24 hours. So I started being sick around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's when the day started for the reset. So from 4 o'clock to 4 o'clock the next day, it's clear liquids. Then from 4 o'clock to 4 o'clock the next day, whole liquids. And from 4 to 4 today is kind of those whole soft foods. And then on this evening, hopefully I'll be able to actually eat dinner. So remember that broth we made? There it is. There's our soup. And we're going to go ahead and reconstitute this, and this will be my lunch. And I will show you all how to do that. And then this evening, we're going to take this same exact mix, and we are going to turn that into a pasta sauce so that you can share the flavors and the goodness that's in this and all the nutrients that are in this. Mom, it's a great way to sneak vegetables into your kids' foods. You can get all of that in and share it with your whole family, even if they're not on a special diet. So let's go to that. So I took a couple of the packs here and I just opened them up and I put them in a jar. That makes it easier to get out portions and to serve it. I'm going to bring 1 cup of water to boil. We take 4 heaping tablespoons of our powdered mixture. Finally, we just take our boiling water and we just pour it in a little bit at a time and kind of stir it in there. And kind of whisk it really good until it is fully blended and smooth and even again. And you can change how thick this is by adding more or less water. The less water you add, the more you'll need to whisk it to get it smooth. But this is about how I like it, right about in here, which is about tomato soup consistency. Now, sneak peek, little spoiler coming up here. We're going to take these other ingredients, and that's what we're going to use to turn them into a casserole. And basically, this is the consistency that we want. And I'll get a spoon so y'all can see that better. Yeah, that looks really good right there. Voila. Oh yeah, nice and creamy. So that should be no problem at all to digest. No chunks or clumps or anything. Time for lunch. I really love the sweetness of it. That's my favorite part. I mean, not only is it healthy and good for you with lots of protein and fiber, easy to digest. And the best part about freeze drying is you don't lose any of the flavor. It's all still in there. As soon as you put the water back in, it's right there. And this is just wonderful. All right, y'all. We'll come back here in a little bit, the next take, and show you that pasta. Okay, ingredients. Let's go over the ingredients for this wonderful pasta. Remember that soup? That's right. We're going to make some of that, but as you can see, we're going to make it a little bit thicker. So this is about 7 tablespoons to a full cup of water as opposed to the 4. Other ingredients. So you're going to need a few fresh ingredients. I like to use yellow and red bell pepper. They really complement the sweetness of the puree. And then remember, we've already got onions, so we don't want to up the onion too much. But this is really more for texture and to just kind of complement the other flavors. We've got some diced green onions. We are going to use some sugar snap peas. That's about 2 handfuls, and about 1.5 cups to 2 cups of shredded cheese. And this is about 5 pieces of bacon crumbled up here. We're going to use penne pasta, and we've got some beef that we're going to turn into strips and grill up. And then we're going to use some petite diced tomatoes, a can of cream of mushroom. You don't have to get the kind with the roasted garlic. Remember, there is garlic in this as well, but it was hard to taste with all of the other sweetness, so I decided to up the garlic flavor. And the only herb I'm going to add to it is some rosemary. Yum. To prepare our meat, we're going to actually hit it with a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, some garlic, a little bit of onion powder, our salt and pepper, of course, and a little bit of basil. And we're going to grill it until it's browned. Go ahead and strain your tomatoes. Get them to where all those juices are gone. You really just want the actual tomato itself. Next, we're going to brown our meat. Get it good and toasty. That looks just about right there. Alright, so we're going to get this, but we want to keep the juice in there. Now we're going to toss our vegetables in there and get them glazed in the broth. Now these are just the fresh vegetables, not quite time for the tomatoes yet. Get all them in there and just stir it together. I love the colors. Aren't they pretty? Alright, we'll get them glazed up. And then it'll be time for the next step. Looks just about right. They're just sweating out a little bit. And we still got texture to them and some shape. They haven't got completely soft and mushy. In the meantime, we're getting our water boiling and ready so that we can go ahead and pre-cook our pasta. While the pasta's cooking, let's go ahead and get the main sauce mixture. So the main sauce, our sauce base, is actually that cream of mushroom and our soup. So we're just going to take and put both of those in the pot and mix them together really good. All right, once it's all together, it'll look about like this here, and you can see some of the mushrooms and stuff in there, but otherwise it's just really creamy. So now we're ready to start adding some of our seasonings and stuff, but let's start by going ahead and getting our rosemary in there. So we'll just take the rosemary. See if I can do this one-handed, y'all. Yeah, that's about perfect right there. So we'll get that stirred in. And now we're going to go ahead and stir in our tomatoes. The tomatoes just add just that little bit of acidity and a little bit more color to it too. And now we'll go ahead and add in our bell peppers and our meats. Last but not least is our peas. All right. And now once our pasta's done, we just mix that in. All right, perfect. The pasta looks really good. It turned out great. So now we just mix that in. And make sure to coat it really thoroughly in all the vegetables and the other stuff. Alright, perfect. Just right there. Alright, we're going to transfer this into a casserole dish, put some foil on it, and put it in the oven, which we are preheating to 350. Okay, it's all in the casserole dish, and the last step is to top it with the cheese. So you want a pretty good layer of cheese. And finally, your bacon bits. Alright, once our oven's heated, we'll get this in the oven, bake it off, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. Don't forget to cover your dish in foil so it doesn't burn the top. Okay, we're about halfway through it. Altogether, it's going to take about 40 minutes to bake. It's done. 40 minutes later, looking fabulous. Look how pretty that is. Alright, let's get it out of the oven and onto a plate. Doesn't that look pretty when it's done and all plated up? I think it's just beautiful. Let's see how it tastes. That's kind of perfect, guys. Wow. Let's try the meat now. Everything just works so well together, guys. Alright, this is great. I'm proud to serve this to my family. I hope y'all give it a try. Let me know what you think, and as always, thanks for joining me, guys.